Hi, my name is Nikki and this is Pingureads. Yeah, this video is just going to be my January wrap up. I read 8 books in January, which isn't, it's sort of around average for me. It's not like a huge amount or like, slumpy, but I did feel really slumpy in January. I think because of the way that I chose to read, or the stuff that I chose to read, it was just making me feel more and more like it was a slog to get through. Even though I did read like 8 books, it definitely felt like hard to sustain. So I think I'm reaching the tail end of that slump now. So I read 8 books. Some stats for January: I read 3 romance books, I read 3 poetry collections, I read a literary fiction and a non-fiction. So that's pretty diverse for me. I think starting off with our lowest rated books, we have Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. This was the first book I read this year, and it kind of wasn't great. Like, it was incredibly simplistic. There's like a few gems. There's like very few gems in here. Like some of the poetry, I'm like, oh, maybe this is something that I like the message of, or I like some of the structure of the words. But across the board, this was, incredibly simplistic. It was very pandery, if I can say that. And it reminded me, to be quite frank, a lot of some of the poetry I wrote when I was 15. So it definitely wasn't what I was looking for, but it did help and it did serve me in that it told me what I didn't like in poetry and what I didn't want to read. So yeah, this was 2 stars, just because I can see that it's very like accessible poetry, and there's like, realistically, yes, some of the construction is super simplistic, but it's not bad. It's just lacks complexity, I guess. Next up we have Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. This is a sort of feminist essay collection. It's one of those formative ones. The titular essay, Men Explain Things to Me, is sort of the precursor to the development of the term gaslighting. Not gaslighting, what am I thinking of? It's not mansplaining, that's the one. And it is, like, fine. It's an essay from 2008. It's about feminism. It's sort of like, it doesn't really delve deep or have any nuanced takes on mansplaining in general. It's fine. The second essay, The Longest War, is so incredibly graphic and still feels so cold. It just feels like, in a way, like a list of statistics and nothing else. The essays that I'd recommend are Grandmother Spider. It's about art. The physical book has a lot of photography interspliced into it, and it's all by, let me see if I can find who the photographer is. Ana Teresa Fernandez. And it's sort of, the essay Grandmother Spider is sort of an analysis and an extrapolation of these works. And so it's actually really interesting to read. The other one I enjoyed was Woolf's Darkness, which is about Virginia Woolf. It was given as a speech at a university, and so I think it reads really well. But the ones that are just traditional sort of feminism ones, to be honest, they don't feel very nuanced. Like, if I was to, I wouldn't recommend this for the, essays about rape, or the essays about mansplaining, or the essays about statistics or threats against women. I would recommend this for the art analysis, so, Virginia Woolf's literature and, Ana Teresa Fernandez's photography. And so, this was 3 stars to me, just because there are a few lines in here that really make me go like, I don't know about that. That's really kind of problematic. It doesn't go in depth in the way that you would want it to. I read Praise by Sarah Kate, which is just like it's like a ex-boyfriend's dad romance where he runs like a BDSM club. Effectively, right? And it was fine. Like, it was okay. People rave about it, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what the deal is with the whole, like, ex-boyfriend's dad thing. And I haven't really figured it out. I don't really get it. But I'm trying to understand, you know? So I think I rated that one 3 stars, because it was, like, fine. It was, like, pretty much just smart. Which I guess is, like, if that's what you're looking for in a book, then sure. But it really didn't read like a romance to me, and then they were like so in love by the end of it, and I was like, how did we get here, you know? And then I also read Mercy by Sarah Kate, which is in that same series, a woman who's the partner in the BDSM club, and then like the ex-boyfriend from Praise is the love interest, so he's like 23 or something. I don't know, he's young, and she's like a middle-aged woman, or like 30, in her 30s, right? And I was like, is this going to be better? Am I going to understand it more from this perspective? And that one I rated 4 stars, but I just really like Women in Charge, so I just like it better. I think it's better. So yeah, I recommend that one more, but I think it really just depends on your tastes, right? But again, that one was also trauma bonding and sex, and then they're in love. I get it, but like, how are you so obsessed with each other so fast? I don't know. I don't know why I keep reading them, to be honest, if I am not that into it. But yeah, I rated Mercy by Sarah Kate 4 stars. Just because, like, it would have been a 3, except for the fact that the woman was the dom, and that's really the only reason. Oh yeah, I read Always Only You by Chloe Leese, which is book 2 in the Bergman Brothers series. And it's sort of like Grumpy Sunshine, where she's grumpy and he's sunshine. He's a hockey player, and she's like the social media manager for their team. It has pretty good, well, you know, as far as I'm aware, as an holistic person, it seemingly had pretty good autism representation from our main female character, as well as some representation of chronic pain and disability, in that she had rheumatoid arthritis. It did, like, they felt right for each other reading it. They definitely did. Their conflict felt like it made sense, you know? Any conflict that they did have was very, like, from the characterization of our characters, we knew exactly how they'd react to the conflict. It just was, like, objectively, it was very good. It was well crafted, it was well represented, it was written quite well, it explored everything pretty well, but it was still just a 4 star for me because it just didn't have, like, I don't know, that spark, that like, oh my god, I love these characters, oh my god, this story is amazing. It was just like objectively quite well crafted and well written, and the characters made sense together, but it didn't have me going like, oh my god, you know? Having your readers have that like emotion and be like, oh my god, this is amazing. I don't think any book for me can be a 5 star, really, unless it, like, any fiction at least, I'll say, can't really be a 5 star unless it like evokes some emotion in me. That's how I feel about it. So, Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, which I rated 4 stars, 4.5 stars, I'm not certain. It's one of those books, very clearly a highly proficient writer, you know, it was written extremely well. The characters were unlikable, but in a way, in a way that's not like, haha, look at this edgy, weird characters. Like, these felt like real people who I disliked, you know? The story, while it was towards the end, which is what sort of knocked the last star off for me, I think, book that I think I need to reread at some point, but not anytime soon, because it just made me feel so while I was reading it. Not like unfocused from the book, it's just like in my life, you know? Once I put the book down, or I was listening to it on audiobook, so if I stopped listening to it, I'd still go about my day feeling so disconnected and so unfocused. Which is definitely how the characters in the book character goes about her life, because she's, you know, so hopped up on drugs to try and sleep the year away. And it's just like that I feel like I need to read, physically annotate it, and like maybe write an essay on it. You know, that's how I feel about it. But yeah, it's gonna be like 4.5 or 4 stars for me. Power Politics by Margaret Atwood, which I won't say too much about because there will be a video of me reviewing it. Both of these actually, there will be videos of me reviewing these poetry collections. So this one I enjoyed, it was 4 stars. And then Serious Concerns by Wendy Cope, I also really enjoyed, and this one was a 5-star for me. All the books that I read in January, any of the books that I've read, and bye!